Hi everyone, welcome to another speed build. I am KiwiSimsKate, Kiwi because I'm from New Zealand, Sims because I love the Sims, and Kate because, well, that's my name. It's as simple as that. So I've got quite a long build for you today. This is my longest video yet, so I do hope you stick around for a bit. It is just shy of 50 minutes. I did try and get it down further, but I didn't want to cut too much of the footage, and it's a large build, so it took me, I think I had 6 hours of footage to cut down, and I didn't want to speed it up any further, so I could have got it shorter by speeding the footage up, but personally I don't like to watch things that are too sped up, too quickly, so I opted for something that was a little easier on the eyes but a little longer. So I hope you will forgive me and I hope you enjoy this video. This build today was epic for me to build for a couple of reasons, actually. Not just because of the size of the building, but also because of the landscaping. Now, I don't use the landscaping tool a whole lot in the game because I don't know, I just have never got around to sort of practicing it and trying things out. So I'm always a little bit intimidated. And I see some amazing things that other simmers come up with, and it's just awe-inspiring. So the reason why I wanted to use landscaping in this build in particular is because I wanted to create this kind of vineyard wedding venue. Where I live, not far away, there are a lot of vineyards in a small amount of space, and half of them, double as wedding venues. So that's kind of where I got the inspiration, some local wedding vineyards. And I wanted to do this kind of terrace thing in the front, which you see me place down at the very beginning. I practiced this build before I started recording myself because I wasn't really confident with the landscaping, and also just it's such a big build. I didn't want to be too slow with my building because then this video would have turned out to be even longer. So I'm really glad I did that. It did mean that, I had to redo a bunch of stuff I already made, but in the end, I think it was really worth it. And the more of these kinds of big builds I do, I think the more comfortable I get with them. But I'm so much more comfortable with small builds, with family homes, that kind of thing. That is my element, I think. But I want to push myself. So I had a lot of fun building this, but it was also slightly stressful, I would say. Other than the sort of mini vineyard at the front, I also wanted to include a pond at the back, and I thought, now your Sims won't actually walk over it on the way down the aisle, but in my imagination I thought it would be so beautiful if this was the path that your Sim took down the aisle to get to their loved one that they were marrying at the end. So in my imagination, just outside the lot, there is this beautiful stone pathway that leads up to the lot, and I imagine the car pulling up at the bottom of that, your Sim getting out and doing that long walk up the stone pathway, up the stone steps, and then across the pond and then down the aisle. Now that isn't going to happen in your game, I'm afraid, but we can imagine, okay? And I loved including the pond with the little fountain objects, the kind of water squirty things. I don't know what you call them. Water fountains? Yeah, the bursts of water. And I thought that was a nice little touch to make it look even more kind of extravagant. I imagine this would be a very expensive place to get married in real life. If you went to the equivalent of this Sims build somewhere in the real world, I imagine it would cost a pretty penny. And weddings are expensive, at the best of times. So the front and the back mirror a little bit. I've used a lot of the same windows. The top windows on the top floor, they are the ones from the My Wedding Stories pack. The ones on the ground floor, I believe they're the windows that we got with an update to base game, because they were the ones that sort of the whole community was up in arms about, because The Sims included a picture of the window in an advertisement for, like, a promo picture for Industrial Loft Kit before it came out. And then when we got the Industrial Loft Kit, the particular windows that were in the pictures weren't included. And honestly, Simmers were rioting. Personally, I didn't even notice because I don't pick up on that kind of stuff. Maybe I should, but loads of people did, and eventually, it did take them a while actually, but eventually the Sims team released the window, I believe, as just a base game window to kind of apologize for including it in promo material and then not even giving it in the game. So that's where the window's there from. I didn't use a lot of different windows or decorations on the outside of the build. I kind of wanted to keep it somewhat plain. The wall covering as well, the pink, kind of faded pink on the outside of the build, is from the My Wedding Stories pack. I used loads of objects from the My Wedding Stories pack. Right now I'm creating this little mini vineyard at the front of the build as well. I thought maybe the whole venue used to be a much larger vineyard, and then they turned it into a wedding venue when, I don't know, maybe their wine wasn't that great and they decided to go in another direction for income for the venue. And I mixed, actually, to get kind of a bit more of a full picture of a vineyard. I mixed two of the objects, so the plain kind of green grape plant, and then also the wisteria. I use that because it really looks like grapes to me. And I've seen other people use just the wisteria as well along fencing, and that looks great too. But I pulled both of these out of the debug menu, or I think it might be the live edit menu, debug or live edit, from the My Wedding Stories pack. There are some in the world, not on a lot, like in kind of the extra area. Some can walk around it in the world, but not interact with the vineyard. And I thought it was just such a beautiful little corner of the world. I knew as soon as I saw that vineyard that I wanted to use that idea and create it in some builds that I do. So it may not be the last time you see me building with vineyards and grapes. I do like a little tipple of wine now and then. And then in the front of the build, I place loads and loads of the... Oh no, the name has gone out of my head. The plant that climbs up the side of the building with the beautiful flowers, not hydrangeas. And it's not wisteria. Now all I can think of is wisteria, because I was just talking about that. And it's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, it's so frustrating. Anyway, it's from Jungle Adventure with the beautiful flowers, and I place that all around the front. Do I add some to the back? I might add some to the back of the build as well. You'll also notice that I'm using Tool Mod a little bit. If you have followed me for a while, especially if you maybe if you follow and watch me over on Twitch where I stream live, You may have heard me talk about the tool mod. I am a very, very new user of the tool mod, and I've known about it for a long time. I've just been really hesitant to try it because I know that there's a little bit of a steep learning curve, and I haven't had the brain capacity to really sit down and kind of teach myself how to use it. So I finally bit the bullet. I downloaded it, installed it in my game, and I've been playing around with it a little bit. There's still a lot I need to learn about it. I mean, it's capable of so many amazing things, but I did use it in this build for the rocks around the front, which I just love. Those rocks are from Journey to Batu, I think. I love them as kind of a cliff face type rock. I thought they worked really well here, kind of just to indicate the tearing of the landscape with the vines. And where else do I use the tool mod? I think I use it to kind of scale some objects and lift some objects up and raise them up and lower them down as well, in a couple of other places on the build. I don't go crazy with tool mod because I'm still learning, and I need to practice more, definitely. In the front as well, I place a bunch of landscaping. I wanted to keep it fairly simple, I guess. One side of the build I think is more busy and maybe less manicured than the other, because it's the side that doesn't really have a view as such. So I've placed more trees and bushes and those kinds of things. And then the side of the home that has, the venue that has the dance floor, the little extra room that kind of juts out from the side, that side has the better view. It looks out over the ocean. So I kept the landscaping bit more minimal, so that you've got a better view out the end. That was kind of my idea. And then out the back, I have a little difficulty with the stairs. Again, platforms are something that I don't use a lot of, but I'm trying to use more recently because I need to get more comfortable with them, because they can add so much to a build. I used to be such a basic builder, and I'm really trying to stretch myself a bit more. So out the back, I cut out some of the footage because it was just ridiculous, but it took me so long to figure out why the stairs weren't placing properly out the back. I placed them and they were there, and then I was changing things up with the platform out the back door, and it just kept screwing up my stairs, and then I couldn't put them back, and honestly, it was a nightmare, but I finally figured it out. I don't know how, I can't remember how, but I got it to work. I had to change a few things around. I had to flatten the ground a bit, and that really tested my patience. I moved to the interior briefly here. I don't do all of the interior at this stage, but I needed to make sure that I would have enough space for what I wanted to do inside before I went any further on the landscaping, because obviously if you then need to expand the building, you're kind of screwed if you've put so much landscaping around the edge. It would mean you'd have to redo so much. So before I did any of the landscaping or the seating area at the back of the build where the actual wedding aisle is, I made sure that the interior had enough space where I wanted to put sort of the head tables and the banquet tables and all of that kind of thing, and the different platforms inside the back door as well. For the flooring for this build, I used the beautiful, beautiful tile. It's just one of my favorite flooring swatches in the game. It's so stunning, and I usually only use like one or two of the colors. I love the black and white. Is that the one I used here? Black and white? Gosh, I can't even remember now. and I'm watching the build, but it's quite small on my screen, so I'm not sure if I am seeing the colours correctly. So that tile, where is that tile from? Is that another Jungle Adventure? It's either Jungle Adventure or Vampires. No, it's not Vampires. I think it might be... Oh, maybe it's Courtyard Oasis Kit. Okay, I really need to do some research on that. I'm sorry. I love it though, anyway. I love it. This kind of square or diamond, if you like, pattern. So beautiful, and I think it works well with this build. The build, I was inspired by a few different pictures on Pinterest, so I won't place any here for you to look at because I didn't really have one reference photo. I sort of took a few different reference photos, mashed them together, jumbled them all up in my brain, and then came up with this. For the interior, I didn't have any reference at all. I just worked from what I thought sort of worked. What I knew I wanted was this beautiful kind of balcony right above the main seating area. And also above the balcony, I wanted this glass roof. And there are a lot of features of this build that I love, but maybe my favorite is this central area of the inside of the build where when the light comes through the roof, that beautiful design on, the glass roofing shines down onto the floor of the ground floor. Oh, I just think it's so gorgeous. I love it so much. And yeah, that might be my favorite feature of the whole build. Although I do have a few. I really love the back as well, the backyard with the aisle and the seating, and oh gosh. Oh, and the fountain. I love the fountain out the back, the kind of pond fountain. Okay, I have a lot of favorite features. Even though this took me a long time to build, I'm really happy with it in the end. The other thing I didn't realize about My Wedding Stories is that these bouquets that look like just a flower bouquet in the menu, when you take them out to place them somewhere, they place in little glass jars. And that's so adorable because I was wondering what I would decorate the tables with, and I didn't want to go kind of too opulent and over the top. I wanted it to be somewhat simple and pared back. I definitely wanted flowers, but nothing too in your face. And when I realized that you could take these bouquets out and they had these beautiful swatches, like this sort of kind of muted peach and pink colors, and they come in these glass jars. Oh, just chef's kiss, perfection. I thought it was beautiful. So I put a few on the head table. I put one on each banquet table with the candle set, which I actually can't remember where that little candle set came from, but it's one of my favorite candle options in the game, I think. And I try and reuse both of those objects. So that particular bouquet of flowers and that particular candle set, you'll see me place them pretty much all over the build because I wanted it to look cohesive. I wanted it to look like this building has, from, roof to floor, someone has designed it and gone through and decorated it specifically for this wedding with this particular color theme. And yeah, I wanted it to look like everything matched in every single room, and it was a whole thing. Maybe they hired a wedding designer to decorate the whole venue for the day. And so obviously you can change up the swatches if you want more of like a yellow theme or a red theme or whatever, but you still want to use the objects, just change the swatch colors and you've got a different theme, but everything will still, all the objects will still go together. This is me figuring out this damn staircase out the back of the build. I thought I had it for a moment here, and then I realized at the top of the stairs are doing something weird, and I don't even remember how I managed to fix it in the end, but I did, and I was about to cry when I finished it. I thought I was never going to get it. I thought I was going to have to change the entire design, because the whole design sort of revolved around this semicircle platform out the back and out the front. This sort of mirror image of the front and the back of the build. And so if I had to change it, I was going to be devastated, honestly. So luckily I figured it out. With the landscaping out the back, I again try and keep it very symmetrical, just kind of the same stuff along the back of each side of the build. But I also place a gazebo at the back, which you'll see me build shortly. And I went through a couple of different designs on it, and I'm happy I landed on the end one. I was going to put kind of open windows all around the outside, and then I changed my mind and just use the spandrels and the columns, and so it's a lot more open, and I think that works better personally. I also tried to use some of the string lights inside the gazebo, but I thought they looked, I don't know, I thought it looked a little bit tacky. So I used the string lights at the wedding aisle and the seating, and I quite like it there, but even there, maybe it's a bit much, but it gives a beautiful glow if you're going to have a nighttime wedding. So I think in that sense, it works well, maybe. Yeah, you'll have to tell me. You can always remove them, obviously, if you use this. So if you do place this build in your game and you use it for a wedding, I would love to know. I love to know if people are actually using my builds in their games. Yeah, so please comment below if you do. If you want to send me screenshots of your Sims wedding, I would love that. And probably best to share those either on my Twitter or in the Discord. So you can find my Discord link in my About page on YouTube. But yeah, I love to hear if viewers are actually using the builds. This is the gazebo here. I clone the same beautiful glass roof from the dance floor area, or what becomes the dance floor area, you'll see later, and raise it up on a foundation, so there's a little bit of a stairway up to the gazebo, and I just use that as a chill out space. There are a couple of sofas in there, and yeah, I just thought it would be a nice place for guests to mingle either before the ceremony or between the ceremony and the reception. Yeah, I have play tested this build. I got my Sim self married to my Sim fiance, so my real life fiance Sim that I created. So I've created us both in the game, and I used us as the test couple to get married in this venue, and some things worked, some things didn't. In terms of the build, everything worked. So the build is functional. In terms of the wedding itself, the gameplay aspect, there are still a couple of things that the Sims team needs to address. So recently we got an update to the game that fixed a bunch of stuff for my wedding stories, for the gameplay, to actually throw a wedding. There were all kinds of bugs and glitches when the pack first came out, and yeah, riots all across the sim community. It was pretty frustrating, I've got to say. I did try it pretty much as soon as the game came out, and it was disappointing. I adore the build buy items. I think they're all stunning. I love the concept. I love the world. But to not be able to actually throw a wedding successfully in the game was the most frustrating thing. And luckily now they've fixed about, I would say probably 80% of it. There are still some things that need work. So I still had a lot of trouble with throwing the bouquet. I had a bit of trouble with the dance area and getting my 2 married Sims to do their first dance. So they still have some things to address. But for the most part, everything else worked well. So my Sims were able to walk down the aisle. The guests turned up in appropriate clothing, which was important. They took their seats when I told them to. What else? The exchanging of the vows worked well. The calling everyone to eat worked fine. The toast worked fine. The cake worked okay. So it was really just the dancing part was a bit glitchy still, and the bouquet toss would have been really great for that to work. My Sim just stood there forever and didn't do anything, so I just cancelled the action. I was like, this is not working. We need to skip this. Anyway, hopefully by the time you place this build in your game, it will have been fixed. I'm sure it will eventually get fixed, but at least know that most of it works. So maybe just avoid the bouquet toss, and the first dance was the other thing I had a lot of trouble with. Everything else seemed to be okay. I don't know if I tried absolutely every wedding interaction possible, but I tried most. I tried to kind of tick most things off the list and test them all out. Now, I know not everyone obviously has all the packs, so every now and then I try and build somewhat consciously with that in mind, especially when it comes to landscaping, because if you are missing some packs but you still want to download one of my builds and you go and place it and half of the stuff's missing, it's got to be annoying, right? I'm sure it's annoying. So every now and then I will also do restricted builds, so 1 or 2 packs or something, or a base game only. But with the landscaping with this build, I tried to pare it back for 2 reasons. Firstly, for what I was just saying, so to allow for more flexibility in terms of people who might not have a lot of the packs, so I don't use a lot of different plants in this build. But then also just because I think it looks better, I think I've talked about this before as well, when I do landscaping, I like to use the rule of 3s with most things in the Sims building, actually. So I try and pick out kind of at least 3 main plants that I'm going to use throughout the landscaping. And then there will be some extra stuff, but they'll be the exception. And I'll use the same kind of 3 sort of like base plants across the whole build. And I think it looks cleaner, I think it looks tidier, more cohesive as well. I think now I've more or less finished the landscaping here. Yeah, so now I'm moving into the interior, and other than obviously the little banquet area that I do just to figure out how much size I need, and the stairs, I start with the bathroom. I used the stalls from Discover University in here, and I thought the colour worked well. They're pretty bright pink, but I thought they sort of worked well. And also I thought that this seems like a kind of older building, but something like the bathrooms in a venue like this would probably have been updated. So I use the pink stools from Discover University. I use the vampire counters, which I love because they've got this beautiful texture on the front, the cabinets, and the tile on the countertops. And I use those bright circular mirrors. I can't remember where they came from, maybe Get Famous, but don't quote me on that. And I keep the bathrooms fairly plain other than that. I add obviously some more of the flowers, the same kinds of colours and swatches that I've used throughout. Lots of pinks and whites, peaches, and a few small kind of objects on the counters themselves, on the bathroom counters. So some soap, some hand towels, and other than that, keep it pretty simple, pretty basic. I loved using these seats as well, the kind of pew seats. They're really cute. And then the little area that flows through to the toilets, there's just some artwork there. I found it, we do have a lot of artwork that works well with this build, but I still want more. Every time I build, I just want more and more artwork, and I also build in my spare time with a lot of CC. I've always loved CC. I used it from, back in Sims 3 days as well. And when you move from working with a lot of CC to not, it can be a tough transition. So you almost get spoiled for choice when it comes to CC because there are so many incredible creators, designers, and items that you can get. And then you go back to the game, which, don't get me wrong, I love the game. I love the objects. They're great. I just always want more. I'm greedy, okay? I'm a greedy simmer and I want all the things. So yeah, artwork is something that I think really brings rooms to life and can bring real personality to a room. So I would love some kind of an art pack, or I know we've had Dream Home Decorator, which is kind of about design, but that was all sorts of things. I'd love to have, I don't know, like a mini kit with a bunch of artwork and all sorts of different types as well, because we've got a bit of a range of modern and traditional, but I just want more, All the curtains that I use throughout the build are also from My Wedding Stories. I didn't realize that we only got one length in the curtains, which is really disappointing. I wanted these curtains to go all the way to the floor, because I think that in real life that's what they would do. They would just reach all the way to the floor, and these don't. They're only the short wall height. So by the time I raise them up to get above the window height where I've placed the windows, they're kind of an odd length, and it's a little frustrating, but I still thought that it was worth using them because I thought the shape worked well and the color worked well, that kind of the pink that I'm using throughout. Now I'm sort of getting on to some of the little hangout areas, the little nooks and crannies of the build, adding lots of more detail to it. I didn't want to clutter the interior of this build too much, because I know I've heard, at least from a lot of simmers, that with the wedding gameplay, and obviously I've tried it, but I haven't tried it a lot, that movement can really be an issue. So the best wedding venue builds have plenty of space for your Sims to move around, because when the game is telling the Sims to move somewhere as a group, to gather for toasts or gather at the cake or whatever, or go get food, go eat, all your Sims are trying to move in the same direction at the same time. And so if you have too many things in their way, it's not going to make for very smooth gameplay. And even this build, see, in my heart of hearts, I feel like it's quite plain and I would like to clutter it more. but my head is telling me no, stop, Kate, because the more you clutter this venue, the more difficult it will be for people to play with it. So as I said, I have tested it. It does all work. You can reach all parts of the build, but any more cluttered and it would maybe be an issue. There are a number of different little rooms or spaces in this build where you can just have your Sims hang out. So the one I'm working on now flows through from the food area. So I've placed I've placed two food banquet tables, both with fountains on top, and then through the arches you can sit down in those seats. And then opposite end of the build on that same floor, there are a couple of those pew seats against the wall. Another thing I liked was sizing these barrels, these kind of side table barrels. And thinking back, I feel like I should have used the tool mod, because when you size them up using the bracket keys, just the in-game sizing, they are very large and probably a bit larger than I would like them to be. So I guess I'm just used to doing it that way, and I didn't even think of doing it with tool, but they look really cool sized up. And I think I had thought about creating a basement cellar in this building with a bunch of things to do with, wine and casks and things like that. And I would have just cluttered up with those and the nectar barrels that we have as well. But I don't know why I didn't do it. I guess because the build I felt was big enough without it, so I didn't bother. But I would like to do a specifically an actual vineyard build one day, and I'll do a cellar with that. And yeah, these barrels that we got with My Wedding Stories, I adore them. I think they're gorgeous. I just love that object, and I will definitely use them a lot. They also are just nice as kind of a side table in a country build. I had this space upstairs that I didn't know what to do with, and I asked Mr. Kiwi, I was like, what do you think I should put up here? Because I don't know. I've run out of ideas. I've got a bedroom upstairs and a bathroom, and now I'm stuck. And so he suggested a kitchen, and I thought that was a good idea, because I think although you don't need a kitchen in your wedding venue, it's handy to have one close in case you've forgotten to buy, for example, a wedding cake in advance, or you have to, whip up a last minute cake. And I kind of think that it goes with the theme, because, in my imagination, it's the caterer's kitchen. So whatever company you've hired to cater the wedding, or if the venue itself has their own, food system, then this would be their large kitchen to prepare everything. And I made it really spacious. I loved using those wine cooler rack things. I put 2 ovens in here and 2 fridges, and also a little dining table area, which I was thinking would be for the staff members, the wait staff or something in their break would be able to have their dinner quickly upstairs or something. Obviously that's not how the actual gameplay works, but I'm just, I am broadening the imagination of the game. It's because that's the kind of stuff that I think about when I play the game. And then lots of other seating options upstairs. You've got, by the balcony area, there's a couple of those pew chairs again, and I also create another little kind of lounge section with some sofas and a coffee table. I put more of those barrels upstairs. I still use the same kind of floral color scheme upstairs and the same kinds of plants. I loved using those trees in the pots. One of my all-time favorite Sims plant object is that one that I cannot remember where it's from, but it's the one that looks very Mediterranean, and a large pot with sort of an indoor object, but it could be used outdoors as well. I use it so much. I think I maybe use it in every build. It'd be very odd of me not to use it, I think. Even if I was like building something in outer space, I'd probably still put one in. That's how much I love it. These lanterns came with my wedding stories as well. So these ones that I've dotted around the floor everywhere, beside chairs, down the wedding aisle at the ceremony seating area. And the colour, again, I've tried to match with the theme of the flowers and everything else. So soft pinks, peaches, etc. That's the other thing that Mr. Kiwi was suggesting to put up here, which I don't really go all out on, but I put a couple of bookcases here anyway. He was saying it could be cool to have a library or like a mini museum to the building. He was saying you could do, like, have objects and pictures of what the building's been during its lifetime, and the history of the build and who built it and all of this kind of cool stuff, and maybe a bit of a history of the area where it's built. I'm moving on to the bedroom, and you can actually stay here. So your sim can get married in this venue and stay here after the wedding, or one of your sims can stay here before the wedding and get ready. So I thought it was a good idea to have skill building items in the building in case your sim was staying here for, not just for the wedding ceremony and reception. I cannot believe I've been talking so long. It's a real struggle actually to do a voiceover this long. I normally run out of things and I'm just like, what can I say? What can I tell you about? So we are nearly done. The bedroom and the ensuite, I think, are the last two things that I work on. The bedroom is quite spacious. It's pretty large. It's maybe the largest bedroom I've ever made in my speed builds. So I didn't want to clutter it too much, but I didn't want it to look empty. So I used the tool mod on that chest, which I thought looked perfect at the end of the bed. And the bed itself with the 4-poster, it's beautiful, it's stunning, but I very rarely have builds that it works in, so I was excited to be able to use it in this build. And that bed, I believe, I want to say it's from Paranormal Stuff. I think it's either Paranormal Stuff or the other paranormal type pack that we got, which I can never remember the name of. I'm sorry. But it's gorgeous. And I also found a swatch in it that kind of matches the whole vibe I was going for. So it was great. I use a kind of vanity table here, which I very rarely use in my builds. So another opportunity for me to kind of maybe step out of my comfort zone a little bit. And place a chess table in the center so your newlywed sims can challenge each other at chess, build their logic skill up. There's a walk-in wardrobe, or if your sims are sick of woohooing in the bed after their marriage, they've got options. It's okay. There are plenty of options to go around. And then as I said, I didn't want to clutter this room too much, but I have this problem where I can't leave a corner of a room empty. I have to do something with it. It's a problem. I'm working through it, but it particularly frustrates me when I go to take screenshots and they don't look full of things. Like, it might be practical within the game to have a room that doesn't have stuff everywhere, but it doesn't look so pretty in a screenshot. So yeah, it's something I'm going to work through. I also placed the tea set that came with my wedding stories in the bedroom on one of those side barrels. and a few decorations on their little balcony so they can sit out there and maybe have a glass of wine or something, and just, reminisce on their wedding day. They've got a really roomy ensuite as well. So the ensuite's got both a shower and a bathtub. In fact, it's got 2 showers. So I originally was going to place just a single shower in here. It's like a shower cubicle. And then I thought, hold on, no, these newlyweds need to be able to shower together. How romantic is that? So, especially if they're going to woohoo in the shower as well, So I used a couple of sliding doors, a couple of the wall shower objects, and create this long double, newlywed shower. And then they get the corner spa tub. Oh, which I would love one of these in real life. This is like life goals. If I was rich, I would have a spa bath in my home. It feels like it screams of luxury, So one day, watch this space. And then I separate the space a little bit in the bathroom. So the bath shower is a little bit separate from where the toilet and the sink is. Looking back, I kind of wish I'd done a double sink, but it might not have worked with that window in the way, so never mind, hey ho. And a nice long mirror as well. I use the same countertops for the bathroom as I did downstairs in the shared bathroom, so the ones from Vampires. A few little decorations, some flowers, some plants, some candles, all that lovely romantic stuff. And then just fill up a few of the corners as well, because it's such a large bathroom. I didn't want it to look too empty. And then we're pretty much up on the screenshots. So as I said, my EA ID is KiwiSimsKate, and you can download this build. Just search that and you'll find it, and all my other builds. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber here on YouTube. It really goes so far in supporting me as a content creator and helps me just push myself more, put out more videos. This is what I just love to do. I love it. You can follow me on Twitch as well, and I stream twice weekly there. So once during the week and then once on the weekend. twitch.tv/KiwiSimsKate, and my Twitter and Instagram handles are also both KiwiSimsKate. Basically, you just remember one username and you can find me all over the place. But thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this build. Take care out there. Bye.